Musk has purchased Twitter for $43 billion. And we've got all of the takes in the world about it. In fact, I think it has created even faster takeception than the Will Smith incident, which I thought was impossible. Every single person on Twitter has posted every single variant of every possible take, good and bad, already. Everything I'm saying cannot be new because every possible opinion has already been taken. But we're gonna try to get to the bottom of it and explain what it means for Twitter, how it came to be, and sort of what's gonna happen next. Here's the photo I have to really sum it all up. I had to make this today, you know. I had to move fast here. Elon Musk bought Twitter, so I got Twitter and I got this is production value, baby. Listen, like almost all things that happen, as anything happens instantly, whether you like it or not, immediately becomes something that like determines your political party instantly. I'm gonna try to zoom out from that and approach it from a business perspective, but there was a lot of political based takes, mostly because conservatives believe it will herald a return of conservative voices like Donald Trump to the platform, and Democrats don't like that, and some also don't like it for monopoly reasons, which is that he is he's the wealthiest individual on earth buying a media company. But what I think was a very, very good take that sort of summed it all up for me was the following. World's biggest clown purchased world's largest circus. And I'm gonna try to theme everything we talk about today into this subject. Because here's the deal. Twitter is not a good company and needs a change. So you might think I might be against this for monopoly reasons, but I'm really not. But before we get into all my takes on it, let's do a quick disclosure on some of the facts. The deal is worth $44 billion. He's buying the company at about $54.20 a share. And here's the disclosure. I own about 800 shares of Twitter that I acquired between $35 and $42 in 2020. So I stand to make about, I don't know, like 10 grand on this, which means the immediate upside is good for me. Let's look at what happened. This is Twitter stock. Elon Musk announced he's interested. Straight up, and it's gonna go up even higher here, 54. So I am, if anything, I am biased financially towards this sale happening. And that gives me an interesting point of view because I want to talk to you about sort of what led to this moment. You guys probably heard a lot of terms like poison pill and yada, yada, yada. I can give you a quick breakdown on how we got to this moment. Twitter has been running for a very long time and it has made almost no money. If you go to the max, Twitter basically has been, I mean, look, this is the peak. This is right after it launched. It IPO'd in 2014. It took 7 years to go nowhere and ended up lower than that. Twitter has made no progress, while even Facebook and Snapchat and TikTok continue to bring in massive revenue. Facebook, while, you know, it's starting to stagnate a little bit, still 1,000x bigger. TikTok growing rapidly, Snapchat growing rapidly. Twitter has maintained a small amount of daily active users the entire time, barely growing. So overall, Twitter's been a pretty mismanaged and bad company. Just not good. And part of that was due to the previous CEO, Jack, being a part-time CEO. He basically worked like 4 hours a week on Twitter, didn't care. There was no progress. I myself have visited Twitter headquarters and I was stunned. It's a very nice building in like the heart of downtown San Francisco. You know, really expensive real estate. So back in 2014, I tweeted lunch at Twitter and the utensils are hashtagged. Team hashtag spoon for life. Anyway, it's a very, very fucking nice headquarters. And I always wondered, like, this entire building, it's like, you know, 12 stories, massive building, really nice building. All of these people are engineers, almost all engineers. What the fuck are they working on? I remember saying that when I left because Twitter has not changed as a product at all in like 7 years. I mean, almost nothing has changed. What did they went from 140 characters to 240. They didn't add any other buttons. They don't do anything. What the fuck are these people working on? I've always wondered that. And then when this deal came out, this $43 billion deal, I looked into it and I wanted to see some more hard numbers. And what I found out is they have, I mean, not only expensive employee salaries, but they have this. They have an R&D budget that is almost equivalent to Tesla. They spend $625 million a year on R&D. What are they R&D? What is their research and development at Twitter? What is their fucking, what is this money going to? When they hired the new CEO, they got rid of Jack. Jack stepped down. That was their old CEO, the founder. And they got a new CEO who promised to make some changes and sort of get Twitter on the right track. And all that I really think he added was NFT profile pictures. So overall, you can say with quite confidence that Twitter management has been underperforming. They also made what could be called one of the worst, the single worst social media business decision of all time, which is they shut down Vine. This might be the single dumbest thing that any company has done in all of social media ever. The whole thing is, it's actually crazy. They didn't even like try to fix it. They literally shut it down. I want to set the stage with that because I want you to know that like, even if you are not a fan of Elon Musk, and I'm not, I think he's generally a clown. That being said, and even though I've ragged on Tesla's stock price before because I think it's crazy high, Tesla is a good company. So as opposed to what's happened at Twitter, which has been disaster after disaster, just years of flatlining. With that in mind, my initial gut reaction to this is that I'm positive because it can't get worse. You know, Twitter is a shit show. And what's telling is when you read the reactions from either side, nobody will say like, I love Twitter the way it was. Nobody's like, Twitter's so perfect now, don't change it. Now, let me talk about some of the upsides and downsides. So the only reason, there are basically two reasons that the board of Twitter would not want to accept his deal, because, you know, this is all about money at the end of the day. And if you're worth this much and someone offers you way more, you should generally take it, right? But the board was, as you guys have probably seen, the board of Twitter has been fighting to stop Elon from taking over. And you're probably wondering why, because it's worth a lot more money. And there's two reasons. One is that you think the management is doing such a good job that this will naturally go back up even higher than what Elon was going to offer. That you think they'll get back to these heights and more, even though these were kind of bubble-fueled heights. Generally, if you ask around Twitter shareholders, nobody believes that. The other reason is that the management of Twitter wants to keep their job. They're afraid that if Elon Musk moves in, he will fire some or all of them, and they like their cushy position and they want to keep it. That is more likely. And that seemed to be the reason they were fighting tooth and nail to stop his takeover. What percent of the company does he own? He now owns 100%. He owned 9%. And their first step to stopping him, the CEO had a pretty smart idea. He went to Elon and he said, look, we'll let you go up to 15%. We'll make you a seat on our board. The board of directors decide what happens in the company. But you have to cap your amount of shares at 15%. And he agreed. And then the day it was set to happen, the morning it was set to happen, he backed out. And he said, nah, I'm going to buy the whole company. And then they started to fight him with the poison pill. The poison pill is a emergency backup plan that a board can create. I'm trying to keep it simple. If one shareholder attempts to buy more than a certain amount of a company, it basically starts printing a bunch of new shares. It dilutes the amounts of shares there are so that they have to keep buying new shares. And it basically stops them from being able to do it. To make it simple, if he tried to buy 50% of the company and there was 1 million shares or whatever, they would print 2 million more. That's the thing. That's what happened. It would make it very financially impossible to even know what you have to spend and to get ready to buy it. Poison pill would stop from taking over. When they announced that, obviously, people got a little concerned because the only reason to do that was if you thought the company's being run super well and that Elon Musk takeover would not be good for the financials. And so they started to get lawsuits to brew. Now, most of these I think were politically motivated. There's a lot of like conservative congressmen who just think that Elon Musk coming to Twitter is going to be the greatest thing ever for Republican politics. I don't, maybe not, but they're really diehard about it. And so a lot of like Republicans in Congress were getting ready to sue Twitter for not doing their fiduciary duty to shareholders. And so with all that brewing, I think Twitter decided last second to be like, fuck this. We don't want to be in protracted lawsuits. Elon Musk is offering us an out of a lot of money. Let's just take the fucking money and run. Let's just do it. Let's just get out. And so today they announced they're just conceding. Another part of it is this. In the past week, as Elon Musk has been talking about whether or not he's going to take over Twitter, there has been a lot of people, a lot of big banks, a lot of other people that are interested in acquiring, has been looking very closely at Twitter's financials to see how much is this company actually worth. They've been looking at it internally to make their case if they should get Elon Musk in or not. And when you look really closely at Twitter's financials, you start to realize this company is already overvalued at $30. This company ain't worth shit. It lost $200 million last year. It lost money. It is a company that puts up text and sells ads on it, and it lost $200 million last year. It didn't make any profit at all. Revenue-wise, it makes about $3.4 billion a year. That's what Olive Garden makes. Twitter is literally the same revenue as Olive Garden, which is worth substantially less. And by the way, Olive Garden makes profit. I think we covered the main takes. Now let's get into some more. So basically, if you understand so much so far, it's that Twitter's been a shit company for a long time with no real progress. Elon Musk is offering to pay way more than it's worth. They decided to take it. That's the long and short of it. And now we have to figure out where it's going. And it's gonna become very political very quickly. So there was this note that said, Trump said he has no plans to rejoin Twitter, even if Elon Musk reinstates his account. That was from today. And you'd think, oh, that's open and shut. But let's look into it a little bit more. Because when you actually read his statements and you realize that Trump owns a competing social platform called Truth Social that he's trying to prop up, even though it is bleeding cash, and in fact lost like 20% of its value today when this was announced, you have to think this is a very short-term answer. Because he said, I hope Elon buys Twitter because he'll make improvements to it and he is a good man. But I'm going to be staying on Truth. So he's already saying he's pro-Elon. Elon's a good man. He's going to make things better. I think more realistically, he is trying to get exit on Truth, shut down Truth, make some money, I don't know, offload more shares, whatever. And then very obviously, he'll be back on Twitter in no time, especially as things ramp up for the 2024 election. Probably drafted up some bangers in the past year. Wait, is he already back? Let's see. Did he tweet? No shot. He said today he wasn't coming back. He tweeted at 3:09 p.m. Thank you, Elon Musk. Oh, it's fake. You motherfucker, it's fake. I got fooled by a pool ball 7. Anyway, so that's happening and will likely happen. He's almost certainly coming back in some form or another. There's another major concern here. Number one is the employee reactions. So one thing you got to do, you got to retain talent. And so employee reactions have ranged from celebration from some on the crypto side who are worshiping Elon Musk. Twitter has a big crypto side. Then there's the employees that are threatening to quit and screaming and crying. They're losing their minds. And then I think most of them, though, fall into this camp. And I found a Twitter employee that I think sums up what most of them are thinking. Can someone tell me if I'm rich or if I'm fired? I think they're all just trying to figure this out. And for some, it might be both. For some, it might be both. More realistically, the problem at Twitter stems from leadership rather than like random rank and file employees. I don't think there's like a mass firing situation. In general, it's going to come from like direction. I think Twitter's had no direction. It's been very coasting. Whatever direction he takes in mass fires, whatever he does, you're gonna have to attract and retain new talent and make actual changes to the program. And so we'll see how that undergoes. Jeff Bezos came in with a take. If you get Jeff Bezos out of his slumbering post-Amazon rocket ship retirement to tweet about it, then you know something's big. And Jeffy B dropped an interesting take. Interesting question, he says. Basically about this tweet, talking about how Tesla has a second biggest market in China. Chinese battery makers are major suppliers for Tesla's EVs. Did the Chinese government just gain a bit of leverage over the town square? The idea is that Twitter is a town square of public opinion. It is where a lot of news stories are broken. It's a powerful weapon in controlling the narrative in many non-Chinese countries. Now, Jeff Bezos is probably not the right person to say this because Amazon has bowed to the same pressures. Specifically, they partnered with China's propaganda arm. And in fact, when this book, a collection of speeches by Xi Jinping, was released in China on Amazon, it got one bad review. And they demanded that Amazon remove the review function altogether. Which they did. If Elon Musk thinks because he's the world's richest man, he can tell China to piss off if Beijing ever starts leaning on him about Twitter, he'll find out about how efficiently the Chinese state can gobble up that Tesla Shanghai factory, taking with it as much IP as it can. Yeah, 100% correct. Now, let's talk about what I think this is actually the take that I think almost no one's talking about that I think is my final big concern. So the amount of money was $43 billion. And you think, okay, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He can afford it. He's got $260 billion or something like that. But he doesn't actually have $260 billion. He has a few $billion and he has a lot of Tesla stock. And if he tried to cash out $40 billion of Tesla stock, it would tank Tesla's price. So I was wondering, how did he get this money? Like, how did he get the money to acquire? Where did this money come from? And it turns out the vast majority of this is debt. He is taking out a lot of debt. And I thought, okay, what's the interest payment on this debt? And it turns out it's decently high. Now, I don't want to bore you with these charts, but it's basically 5 separate loans from different companies for $500 million, $6.5 billion, $3 billion, 3 billion, 2.5 billion. And it all comes out to, they're at different interest rates, some at 3%, some at 4%, some at 6%, some at 10%. All of this debt burden falls on Twitter's shoulders as a private company. And we're looking at something like a $2 billion yearly interest payment just to pay the debt for Elon Musk buying the company. He is going to buy the company and immediately saddle it with a $2 billion a year interest payment. Now, this company already lost $200 million last year. It's not even making profit. My biggest take on this whole situation is not that, remove all of the politics in the whole situation. I think this is going to fail primarily because Twitter is not a very good business to begin with. And Elon Musk has just saddled it with a massive amount of debt. No, someone said this is not in the best interest of the shareholders. The shareholders are out. You understand? The shareholders are cashing out. I'm a shareholder, but I will no longer be after. He's going to pay me. If you guys understand, Elon Musk is buying all of the shares. He's buying my shares. This is just for him. But as a company, it is no longer going to, it already didn't make much sense. And it's going to make even less sense so here's what I'm saying, what it means for the future. There is a real chance that 5 years from now, Twitter has to IPO again to make its money back, or it has to, you know what I'm saying? This company goes private and just starts bleeding cash. There is no way to make it profitable at current rate of growth. So 2 things will happen. 1, Elon Musk will massively turn this company around and massively increase profitability. He will find a way to make this company make a lot more money. Now, number 1 way you could do that is advertising. You could find a way to get more advertisers to show up and use Twitter. Possible. Although I think advertisers will be scared because Twitter is going to become even more filled with political fighting, which is like usually something advertisers want to try to get away from. The other way is the subscription route. And that is what's been talked about a lot. Is they're going to find a way to make basically people pay for a check mark, pay for verification. Maybe they pay for Twitter Blue or something. So far, the soft launch of Twitter Blue has been pretty underwhelming and not a big seller. So it remains to be seen if that will work. But one of these has to work. Now, this guy, I don't know if you guys remember, but a while back, I talked about how, remember that tomato guy? The guy who said the secret to getting rich is you plant 3 tomatoes for $3 and then take the seeds from those and then plant them again till you get 9 tomatoes. And then you take the seeds from those and then you get that? And then till you have 1 billion tomatoes and then you're a billionaire. You sell those for, yeah. That was his big fucking plan to get rich. He has a take. He has a take on how Elon Musk can make Twitter very profitable very quickly. Let's see what that is. How Elon Musk can make Twitter very profitable very quickly. Charge people $1 per month for every 1,000 followers they have. Scaling out to $2 per month per follower if over 100K followers. Want millions of eyeballs on Twitter? Want to make money here? Pay up. So this is his plan. By his logic, I would have to pay $75 a month for Twitter. Someone like Slime would have to pay like $100 a month. Lud would have to pay like $1,000. $1,000 a month for Twitter. That sounds good. But that is the type of groundbreaking thinking that Elon Musk is going to have to turn to figure out how to make this company somehow profitable and somehow get a return on this massive amount of debt-fueled money. Overall, can he afford it? Yes. We'll see how the debt holds up. What will happen? It can't get much worse, I think. That remains to be seen. But as a company, it's been holding flat to declining for 7 years. Maybe he can turn it around. And hopefully, at the very least, he can use his ability to attract engineering talent to find some people that will actually add to the product because it has changed nothing. But overall, I think we have analyzed this deeply enough for one day. Thanks for watching. That was my coverage of today's announcement of Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter. Thanks again for watching Marketing Monday.